minutes and the financial reports and look that over. It's sewer report.
Okay, now,
Does you have anything on that?
you want to approve the other minutes first, Benny?
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I was gonna include them all here in
Oh.
one, but that's okay.
Yeah, you can make a shortcut.
Get through this in a hurry, right?
Go ahead and have a motion to approve the sewer report.
I'll motion that.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. I don't think we had any correspondence, did we, Sherry?
No, we did not.
Do we have a sewer report?
Yes, Bryn's gonna deliver that.
For the month of September, the inflow on the sewer was 1,110,594 gallons. The average per day was 36,000. The outflow for irrigating was about 800,000 gallons. The pond level is 26. The comments were that he is needing a new part for the chlorine. He's working with Rob Grounds from Malin and will be performing his duties under Rob's license while Aaron is working on getting licensed.
Questions?
None.
No, okay. I move that we accept the report.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Sherry, do you have any correspondence, anything?
No, nothing,
Anything?
and no planning.
No planning? Well, Sherry and I met with ODOT one day last week. We getting lots and lots and lots of complaints. Lots of complaints about speeding, not stopping at stop signs, no law enforcement. So we met with ODOT because a lot of people were asking us, can't they put in speed bumps and can't they put in four-way stop signs and can't they do this and can't they do that? And basically what, he wrote it all down. What was it, guy, Tracy?
Sidell or Sidell, he's new to the position.
And he said he's kind of the maintenance or supervisor. That he would take it all back and all the things we suggested, and we showed him where the problems were. Worst of the problems was coming in off of the Caseberry Road and Highway 70, coming in that way. People, it's a 25-mile-an-hour zone, but they don't pay any attention. Then suggested speed bumps, and he said that was probably not going to happen. Cause of liability, different things on that. But he talked to us, what, Sherry, we'll be out here probably an hour, maybe?
Yeah,
45 minutes, hour.
yeah, he wrote everything down and he'll take it back.
And talked to him about all of this, and he said he would take it all back. And one thing we did, well, the commissioner said, one thing we did talk to him about also, is that Highway 70 may be transferred to Klamath County. Have you heard anything about that?
No, we've been talking about a jurisdictional transfer with different roads now for quite some time. But they've been, those conversations have been stalled pretty heavy recently with all of the funding issues that ODOT has.
Yeah, he did tell us that also.
Yeah, we've been willing to take on some different roads, but in exchange they have to take some that we don't want.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to just take on more without giving some away, you know.
Well, I remember when we met you in there from Klamath,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you said it's gonna take time, and I think it might take years.
I've been working on the JTA since I started, so that's over 7 years now.
Yeah, he said for sure it wasn't going to happen this year,
Yeah,
and he didn't know.
that's probably 10 more years. before
So-
it gets settled.
Can I ask something? If that happens, will you allow the town of Bonanza to comment on that before?
Everybody would get an opportunity, yeah. And it's multiple. We talked about Highway 70, Crescent Cutoff, Crossroads. I mean, there's a lot of different roads that they want to get rid of, and
Yeah.
there's plenty I wouldn't mind giving them.
The downside is that the Bonanza would then lose the state for policing,
Right,
and that would just hurt us even more.
absolutely. They don't have a reason to be out here if there's not a state highway.
So anyway, then we talked quite a while with him and talked about all different scenarios that might happen or might not happen or might help or might not help. And he took it all back into his superiors or whatever, but it didn't sound real encouraging. And when you really think about it, I mean, you guys might not be too familiar with Highway 70, but when you're going through town and you go down to where it makes the curve to go up there, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me, a four-way stop there. Just that you got that curve coming this way and you got, it just doesn't. I think that might cause more accidents than what we already have. Now we could maybe go up the highway a little bit, maybe, and one of these streets up here, maybe this one by the school here, where the school goes out, we might be able to put in a four-way maybe stop signs, not a control, but something like that. But we have a speeding problem, and it's bad. It's really bad. They don't pay any attention. They come into town around that corner there and just open all the way down through, just wide open.
In the morning, right on Highway 70, both ends there, they have blinking lights for school. It doesn't seem to bother the drivers at all. I mean, they're still doing 50, 40 miles an hour, 70 or so. I don't know what to do, It's a tough one.
Well, the corner down here by the park already has 2 stop signs on it, right?
Yeah,
One on the Bonanza Valley side and then one on the park side.
yeah.
So that only leaves 2 stop signs to put in to make that a 4-way stop.
Yeah,
The curve, I don't see that as being a major issue because of the fact that they have to stop.
yeah. Well, they can send the white lines out to where it's going straight and then turn too.
Yep. I think we got half the job right there. It's already done.
Yeah. Excuse me. What about rumble strips or the BOCC dots where the threshold is for the speed?
I can't.
What do you call
Rumble strips?
Rumble strips, so like when you're
you use a
approaching it, it'll da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Or BOCC dots would be the same.
Heard of that, have you?
Yeah.
Is it working anywhere? Where you know any of them? Where do you
I've
install
seen
some?
rumble strips. The ODOT has put rumble strips out when you're approaching a stop sign, on really dangerous stop signs.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen them do that there. I can't think of any specifically in Klamath County. The ODOT's first approach generally is to put out additional signage coming into an area that you need to slow down, or there's a stop sign coming up. They just put out an additional stop sign on Clover Creek Road at Highway 66 because people were blowing that stop sign and we had a fatal there, so they put more approach signs up and then dual stop signs, and that seems to be helping. But yeah, I've heard of them putting rumble strips up at the.
BOCC dots they just simply glue. They glue
Right.
down.
The problem with those though is snow. So
Yeah.
when we're plowing, we'll bust those
Just
out.
We plowing Bonanza?
Yeah.
The state does,
okay.
yeah, until the county takes over about the fire department.
Right.
But the only thing you run into with rumble strips, if you do it in this setting, the neighbor's gonna be pretty ticked. So wherever you put them, it's gonna be pretty loud.
You get noise complaints from people that live by rumble strips.
Oh.
They're loud.
Yeah.
By the park wouldn't be too
Then you
bad.
get complaints about flashing lights if you start putting flashing lights to warn people. So
Every solution has its
it
drawbacks.
has a problem too.
Yeah,
So.
so you have to.
Even a
think
four-way
through all
stop
that.
though by Ian's or right out here would at least stop people halfway through town
Yeah.
instead of being able to blow all the way through. Like a simple solution, like just a simple four-way stop would be at least.
As Commissioner DeGrasse said, for every solution you have, there's
Yeah.
going to be the opposite to it. And you got to think about when you have stop signs, people think they've lost time. So stop signs sometimes actually cause people to go faster on
Yeah.
the back side of the stop sign.
Yeah. We see that a lot down here at the Lange Valley stop sign right there by the park. They simply pick up speed there. They don't even stop. They just continue on, just like it never even existed there. And that's right by the park. So we're just waiting. Somebody's gonna get hit there, walking back and forth to the park.
And I know
It's a nasty spot.
we're rolling right off the agenda, Mayor, so I apologize, but it leads me into a conversation we'll probably have at some point, and that is policing and enforcement.
Well, as you know, we have no, at the present time, we have no law enforcement. I mean,
Right.
we're at the mercy of you guys at the county and at state police come. But the thing we're running into is that they really don't have time to take care of Bonanza because they're shorthanded and running their own. And they do, don't get me wrong, they do help. The state especially that has been really good about coming out.
Sure.
But they're so busy on the other end down there that they can't really spend enough time, you know, and the county too. No, the county has been out and they probably do as much good as anybody because they do make traffic stops and but what we've got now, we've got a real problem and it's theft. That's worse than speeding, I think. You know, we get complaints all the time. What we need, and we did, and we might have to come back to you folks again and try to work out something else. We've got to have some kind of law enforcement.
What is your budget for law enforcement look like as a town?
That's Sherry's expertise here, but
Um,
I don't want to wait till somebody gets hurt, killed, or something like that,
I
you know,
agree.
before we try to totally
I agree.
get, you know, we just, but
We
at the,
budget 50,000 a year.
50,000 a
That's what we
year.
did this year.
when,
That's helpful. Thank
when
you.
we was contracted with the sheriff's office, he was under the gun too, but he was short of guys, you know, and he was trying to stretch them all. The sheriff was trying to stretch them all out, you know, and take care of Bonanza, but he's got all the rest of, I don't think Maryland has any law enforcement, but Millian has their own, but I think Merrill's without any.
Malin's going over and helping Merrill every now and then.
So we need some help, and we welcome anything that you might help us with. I mean, I know he's short, I know the sheriff's short-handed, he's told us that. And he's supposed to, now maybe gonna pick up a little bit maybe on some help on more guys, more officers, or is it a money situation where we gotta find more money?
He's been budgeted for more positions than he can fill for years.
His budget has nearly doubled since he took office.
So he can't,
He just can't find the people then.
Well, I'm trying to decide how I want to frame this conversation. I was in law enforcement for 28 years, and I retired as the chief of police. And I'll go so far as to say that my expertise has been about policing models and policing strategies and how to do it and how to do it efficiently and how to do it effectively. And when I left Klamath Falls, our crime in downtown Klamath Falls was down 52% from the time I took over. So I think I'm pretty good at policing and pretty good at policing models. And I've recommended time and time again that we simply kick the sheriff's office out of the urban growth boundary and free up that liability from them and allow them to be rural deputies
Yeah.
and incentivize all the staff he has to be deputies in all of the municipalities and all the rural communities around Klamath County. And there's a way to do that, but unfortunately, my vision falls on deaf ears to the sheriff's office. And I say the word unfortunately, and I'll reiterate that. I think there's a way for the sheriff to police in a much different manner that will be much more effective, that will be equitable and fair for all of the taxpayers in this entire county.
Yeah.
But it's going to look like, in my opinion, and my opinion only, I feel that the sheriff perceives that as a loss of power or control, when in reality, he would look like a hero if he would take my advice. But there's a way for us to police in a much different way in Klamath County that's fair, equitable, just, and everybody would get what they pay for. So we've got to allow the city PD to police all of the urban growth boundary in Klamath Falls and eliminate that $25,000 call for service liability from the sheriff's office. Give it to the city.
Now, Chris isn't, the sheriff isn't.
So I'm going to be brutally honest, even though we're on the record. I'm going to be brutally honest. I think that has served me well, to be honest with people. I'm not going to change that now. I brought this concept up to Sheriff Cabra when I was the chief of police, and I told him that he could look like a hero. I would take the urban growth boundary, he could take the rural environment. We would have 27 law enforcement coverage for every citizen in all of Klamath County. So I brought this up 4 years ago. So now I'm a commissioner trying to fight that angle because I didn't get anywhere as the chief of police.
And I'll tell you, how the conversation's leading. We're just finishing up, and Commissioner Hensley led an effort on a strategic plan, and one of the pillars in that plan is policing, and I'm sure you all have seen it and been able to hopefully have some input. And I'm the budget nerd on the board, and I always try to look at how much money, which is why I asked, what's your budget? How much money do we have for certain services, and how can we most effectively use those dollars in order to deliver the best possible service throughout the entire county? And one of the things that I've been tossing around, and I've kind of just thrown it out there, is creating partnerships with our municipalities, all 5 of them, and then trying to figure out how to handle a couple other areas. There's 3 other areas of concern that don't have any kind of seat to it if you were to try to zone out our county, and then create some type of a formula to allocate funding into those different zones and then work on a partnership. So what I would what I plan on presenting to the board, and Commissioner Hensley has heard this, and what I would come and talk to you guys about is saying, hey, we have drawn your zone. It's actually bigger than your city limits, but it goes out and this is your zone, and I have $200,000 to spend in that zone. So now we have $250,000 together. How many people can you hire that work for you that have a Klamath County patch on one arm? And they're just going to police your zone. And that's it. They don't have to go anywhere else unless there's some type of emergency where there's a shooting or there's this, where we have mutual aid agreements.
So it would be under county rule, so to speak.
Nope, yours.
Or not. There's 2 ways you can do it.
Yeah, I'm kind of confused.
There's sheriff's offices, Multnomah or Clackamas County, for example, that provide policing in smaller towns. So those smaller towns gave up their policing. They contract with the sheriff's office. So the sheriff's office drives a car that's their town's identity. So they got their town patch on one shoulder, they got the sheriff's office on the other. So it could be controlled entirely by you, or it could be controlled entirely by the county. It doesn't really matter. There's two different ways we can do that. But the town keeps their identity. Your police car is marked with your logos, things like that. It's your policing style. It's your priorities. The council could say to the deputy or deputies in that area, focus on Highway 70. We're getting crushed. I need you to focus on our priorities. So, but it also expands the reach of those deputies to run down Langell Valley to help out somebody that lives 10 miles out Langell Valley. So there would be geographical boundaries around your municipality. So it would be a county municipal endeavor together with sharing some resources and sharing budgets, things like that. You think about Merrill. If you had 10-mile boundaries off both sides, heck, that's 20 miles. You could almost reach, so those deputies could almost touch each other somewhere out around, South Po Valley.
On Harpole.
Right, on Harpole. So, we could do that in Chiloquin. So there's some areas, as the commissioner's talking about, where we don't have municipalities so we'd have to think about what are we going to do at Sprague River, Bly, what does that look like?
Gilchrist
Crescent.
Yeah.
But I think we need to get super creative about policing models and not be afraid to be creative about policing models. And We've policed where there's a sheriff's deputy, state police, and municipal law enforcement agencies. We've done that forever, but it's not working anymore.
Right.
So it's time for us to really get creative. What can we do? But at the end of the day, our priority is this: equitable and fair policing for everyone that pays for it. And that's every citizen in Klamath County. And right now that's not happening.
No.
And that paradigm has to change.
So
And
this
that's
would
the
come from
biggest complaint we
a
get.
tax base,
What's that?
a tax base for law enforcement, each town or each?
So it's
Where
kind
do
of
you pay
like,
for it?
do you remember when I was on the conference call and that was one of the suggestions that we establish a special district? And we would have to impose additional taxes for Bonanza residents. This would bypass it, but get the same result.
Right.
So we would have a Bonanza car and a Bonanza sheriff deputy,
Or two.
or two. Probably two, because one, if everyone would know when the one was gone.
And hopefully, the goal is then over time, you get deputies that want to live here.
We've gone so far as to talk about, all right, how do we incentivize housing? So what does it look like if we say, if you want to move to Bonanza, Gilchrist, Merrill, Malin, if you want to live in those areas, we'll spot you some money on your down payment. And if you work for the sheriff's office or the county for 10 years, we'll forgive it. And if you don't, you're going to pay us back with interest. So how do we incentivize hiring people but move them to those areas at the same time? And then how do we incentivize blight? So what does it look like if you say to a young deputy, hey, if you want to buy that blight house, we'll give you more money, fix it up and put it back on the tax rolls. So I think there's really creative things that we can do, but there's no political will to do it because people want to get reelected. And I don't necessarily want to. So let's get let's have some political will.
So you should run for sure.
Let's do it. It doesn't make
You want to get us going on all this, and you're going to bail.
Well, we're working on it.
I filed to run again, but I'm not afraid to say crazy stuff. Does that make sense? And neither is Commissioner DeGroot. And I'm not saying anything bad about any of the commissioners, but all too often, here's my 2 cents on politics, then I'll shut up. People want to take the easy road when they get reelected to not make people mad, so they get reelected. And that's not me. Let's get crazy and let's do things that are fair.
And it's not even fun doing that. Job's
What-
not fun if you're just kissing it.
So,
don't care.
take, in that direction, if the council chooses to entertain that idea, are there any steps or anything that the council can do to help that initiative?
I think that there's going to be a point where we start having a conversation, and that conversation's been scheduled. So, and we're going to talk about policing models and law enforcement in general, and not just police force. We're going to talk about district attorney's office. It's going to be all about public
We're going
safety.
to talk about public safety.
And I set a work session date already for that, and it's like 6 hours long. We're going to just sit around and talk about that. So there'll be an opportunity ahead of time to get some comments in on that. And then that conversation will be ongoing as we come up with creative ideas that we want to try, something we actually want to try. I'm working on a funding model right now to try to do that. It's mirrored a lot around how federal funding gets dispersed to the 3,000 plus counties based on the geographical size of the area that we're going to create and the population within it. So both of those things come into account. Then I can go to the patrol budget that the sheriff's office has, and I can apply the model to that budget, and it'll give me the dollar amount that should be allocated to each geographical area, and then it'll let us know what we can do. Right? It's not just picking a number.
Now, how will Bonanza pay for their share? Is that a?
That's why I asked you what your budget was. You said it's $50,000. Okay.
Just give me the 50,000 and here it is.
Well, I think to go just one step further, I think now is really a great time for us to have this conversation because you guys don't have policing and neither does Merrill. And Merrill's been kicking around, do we hire another chief? What does it look like? You know, so they're struggling too. So we've got two cities, and I think if you guys started communicating with Merrill,
We do.
yeah, and about this specific topic and saying,
Exactly.
let's get crazy, let's do some different things here. And I think if Merrill and Bonanza were part of pushing that agenda, you start getting people's attention. Because right now you have two commissioners pushing that agenda. That's it. And I met with the city manager and I said, here's what I want to do. And the city manager's on board. So he goes, we can do this. The chief of police is on board. So I shouldn't say just two commissioners pushing the agenda. I shouldn't say that because the city is on board as well and they want to do it. So we've got the city primed to do it. The chief came in and gave us a great presentation about this is what we can do for you and these are the services we'll provide. And with some of your funding, we'll actually do more than we do now, like traffic enforcement teams, a rapid response team that just goes out and focuses on issues that are important that day. So they're going to come to the table with some new policing that I didn't do when I was there that I'm really excited about. So now's the time for us to get really creative about getting this done. And you said, what can Bonanza do? I think Bonanza and Merrill really have an opportunity to be in the front seat on this deal.
And Chilliquin.
And Chilliquin.
What steps are gonna need, or are needed, though, for a municipality? We're in contact with Merrill quite a bit. We're in a standstill thinking that if they do hire a chief, we can contract with them, because that's gonna be our quickest
Right.
solution.
Right.
But for long term, if the council likes the idea, I mean, are there letters? Do you want us to attend the public safety meeting? Is there, stuff that we can write?
So we had our quarterly meeting with Merrill a couple of weeks ago. Rodney, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was out of town, so we didn't really get in the weeds about policing because he's kind of driving that bus in Merrill. So now that he's back, I haven't had an opportunity to sit down with him. So we need to do that. So once we do that, yes, writing letters, absolutely. Coming before the commissioners, even at a Tuesday meeting and saying, we need policing. And it really start driving that home so it's not just the commissioners pushing the agenda. People need to recognize that the communities want us to do something different. Because I'll be honest, right now, I'm kind of getting beat up on this topic. Because there are people that don't want to leave the UGB. There are people that don't want a different policing model. It's got to the deputies that we want to get rid of deputies, which isn't the case. It was in the paper that we want to merge the city and the county. That's not the case. So there's a lot of false narratives out there that are scaring people. So people need to recognize that the people want more from policing, not just a couple commissioners with a wild hair.
Yeah, it's definitely not. This is years in the making. Come up with different.
Well, we have to
solutions.
do something.
Well,
We're between a rock and a hard place,
what?
and it's going to get worse.
Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna get worse.
100% agree.
Where we have more control in driving this bus is resource allocation, right? At the end of the day, every dollar that's spent by the county is approved by the county commissioners. So if we're going to figure out a way to ensure that there's law enforcement representation in your community, we have to figure out a model where we can just allocate resources that can only be used for that, and that using it for anything else would actually be misuse.
If we go, what kind of a time frame are we looking at?
I'd really like to get this done by like the beginning of next budget year, so June, July.
I want it done within 15 months.
So,
What can we do?
yeah, I was going to say, what?
That's a
So
good question.
Yeah.
Right now, nothing's really coming to mind, but
I like the idea of the council writing a letter to the commissioners that's pretty strong worded, that we need something done. Time of talking is over. We need some action. I'd really like to see something like that lands on our desk. I'd really like to see that heavily supported by your community. And if people in your community attached onto that or wrote other letters or were calling us and saying, you got to do something, I would love that. When we try to make changes, what I often face is, what's the need? And it's easy for me to say, here's these letters, here's these phone calls, this is the need, this is why I'm pushing this agenda. And I don't really have that right now. I know it's the right thing to do because I was a cop for 28 years.
You come
Right.
highly recommended by a nephew.
So I love it when there's actual proof that I can say, this is why we're driving this agenda. I'd like to see some type of town hall meeting out here where we can come and just listen to the citizens. So if you guys hosted a town hall and invited everybody where we just got to hear your needs regarding policing, where we've got it on the record and we invite the media, I think that would be super helpful. I just need you guys to be angry that you don't have cops. That's really what I need. That's really what I need.
Behind you to push you.
What's that?
Need someone to push you.
Yeah, I need someone yelling at me.
Evidence that you're pushing,
Yeah.
being pushed, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
And if you did the same thing in Merrill and approached them the same way, then we need a meeting or a town hall meeting with Merrill. We do the individual ones so you can understand just how serious the situation is here. We hear it every day, every day.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So it
I
just
really
gets
can.
worse and worse. And people, at first, they didn't realize that we didn't have police protection. And now they do.
Oh, now they
And
do.
so it's a free-for-all. So if we did that and presented it as a town hall meeting to come and air your
Grievances.
unsatisfactory feelings that you have, because I can imagine it's going to get pretty steamy. But if we did that and Merrill did that, then we get the commissioners and we get the two boards together or whoever, and we say, okay, here's what we picked up from these meetings. Where can we go with this? Because we've been working with Merrill, but it's been a very slow process. And the main thing is that we've got to do something to move forward. Merrill's in the same boat. They don't have much either. If they get anything from Malin, I'd be kind of surprised. But anyway, they literally need, as much as we do, the protection to keep the theft and the speeders. And I mean, we have people that go through town at 60 miles an hour. They don't care. That's just the way it is.
I believe it.
I was at the, my wife and I just live outside of Merrill, and on Thursday nights we'll run into the water hole and grab a drink and something to eat, right? It's our date night. We were there about 3 weeks ago, and one of the bartenders there was telling us stories about what had been going on at the bar, and we probably hadn't been there for a month or so. So she was catching me up on these crazy things that had been happening there, and I was like, oh my gosh, are you calling 911? And she says, no, but we have this list right here. And she shows me a list of people that live in the area, like my wife and I, with their names and phone numbers. So the bartender can just pick one of the farmers to help them out if something's going wrong. And I thought, how
my
unfortunate
God.
that they go to this list, not 911. That's a problem.
Well,
So I said, well, you might as well add Benji and I to your list. I mean, I'm 3 miles out of town, but I'm on a list in a bar. So they can call me
Well, they need help.
when they need help.
Yeah, and
and I
that's-
thought, what crazy world are we living in?
Oh, yeah,
Well,
we had people
we
come
see
to
that
our
coming.
last meeting and they want to do neighborhood watches, they want to, come together to do that, but
Well, I had
some
a.
of the people that want to do neighborhood watches also want to carry weapons to do the
Yeah,
neighborhood
right,
watch.
right, right.
And it's
We don't
like-
need to be vigilantes.
No,
You
but
know, I
that's
had a-
where it's,
That's where it's at
the
right now,
extreme
though.
it's
I will,
going.
I will say that very, very openly. That's where it's at.
Yeah, I had probably a 25-minute conversation on my way home a couple of days ago with Mark Trotman. And he was talking about some of the theft in the area and a car that was stolen that they found here downtown. And he sent his grandson or nephew over to pick up the car, and the lady walked out. She's like, well, how am I getting home? And he's like, I don't care. You stole the car. And that was her concern, how she's going to get home now because he was taking his car back. And I was like,
Yep.
did the police get involved?
Right, no concept.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Oh, we We've got stories.
You
Oh,
can't,
yeah.
You want more, there's more.
you can't make these stories up.
No.
That's fantastic.
So
Well,
But
we've
I
had
do-
several, well, I shouldn't say several, but a couple different people pass away here, elderly people. And, you know, the coroner comes out, they take their names into the mortuary or wherever. And that night, the places are broken into and ransacked.
Yeah,
Everything's
people
over.
know immediately
That
when
happened right
somebody
there.
gets
Yeah,
gone.
it happened at Eric's house and it
Eric,
happened out
yeah.
here too. It just,
Happening there.
There's a group of churches that are trying to have church meetings on Bly Mountain. Everybody's invited to come. They had a couple that were pretty good, and then all of a sudden, nobody was showing up. So they started saying, okay, what happened? They said it took one meeting for people to figure out they're coming to this, and they said they put up cameras and they watch, and when the people leave their house to go to the meeting, they walk in and rob them. So nobody will leave their house to come to the meetings because they'll get robbed if they leave.
Yeah. And we know a lot of people that live,
Somebody stays home all the time.
yeah, and that somebody's always there. Yeah, they don't all go to town, they don't all go to dinner. One member of that family is always there.
And that's sad.
It is.
It's terrible.
And there's a gal that came in that said she got robbed. And she said she'll be home. And she knows who's doing it. She's got pictures. Comes in, took a bunch of kayaks out of her shed. And she called the sheriff. He said as long as it's under $1,000 worth of stuff, there's nothing you can do. She said they came 3 times in a week. They just kept it under $1,000 every time.
Yeah, it is. It's outrageous. So maybe we should seriously think then of a town hall meeting that we can record.
Some letters. I think Commissioner
Oh, yes,
Hensley's
and
right.
letters.
Some letters to the commissioners saying, where is the fair and balanced approach
Where's
to
the
policing?
equitable-
right,
yeah.
we are paying for policing in this county.
We pay the same taxes as
Yeah.
everybody else.
So,
Exactly.
so we got 2 commissioners here.
Yes, ma'am.
Where's the third one stand?
I don't know the answer to that. I wouldn't care to speak
Yeah.
for her, but yeah, it don't matter.
Don't matter, but I mean, you'd like
Well,
to have
of course it
everybody,
matters,
you'd like
but,
to have everybody on board. I mean,
Yeah, and I think
you know-
that.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I'll put some words in her mouth, but I won't speak for her. But I have heard her say that fair policing is important to her. So I think that's safe to reiterate she has made that point. But as far as restructuring policing, I don't know where she would land, and I don't think that's fair of me.
No. Well, I
I
would
think
like
that's very
to,
well
I would
said.
like to be able to tell you, hey, this whole council's gonna back you up. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Change is
Because-
hard.
You can't have, I'm trying to say this in a nice sort of way, but
You don't have to.
you can't,
I think we've been honest.
you can't have 1 or 2 people fighting you. You understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
They can't go out there and be preaching one way and you trying to convince people.
We
That's
have-
what,
It's not-
that, so I wanted,
we
you know, if I have a
bit of
whole
that.
council on board, that, you know, that would be good. I can't speak for any of them, but this has to be a collective, this has to
I
be
know.
all for
Absolutely.
one and one for all.
100% agree.
Because you
Couldn't
can't
agree
have
more.
somebody out there,
Yeah, I don't think there's any problem because all of us live here. We know what happens. We experience it. So it's like,
I mean, I don't like taking my kids in the store anymore. We went in the mini mart and the guy pumping the gas, I had my 4-year-old with me, said, be careful, somebody dropped their meth in here the other day and didn't notice it till we were sweeping the floor. So don't take him in here. I mean,
meth,
yeah, just dropped it on the floor, walked
It
out.
makes me angry.
And I grew up here. Like, you could leave the pickup running with your kids in it and they would be fine. And like now, nope.
I didn't lock
Like,
my
I take
front
them
door
out
till
and
I was
I
40.
lock my car when I get out. Like, it's just, there's different people and there's nothing anybody does about it.
well,
There's no consequences.
Yeah.
No.
Exactly, that's the.
there's neighborhood watches and then there's neighborhood watches.
Yeah.
Anyway, I apologize. I
Neighborhood
totally
watches
derailed
are
your
di-
agenda.
Well, it was on the agenda. Please.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I had one. I had one of the biggest in the state of Oregon, right here in Bonanza. Had one. My brother-in-law got cancer, and I had to take him to San Francisco and gone. And while I was gone, the guy that followed me didn't particularly like it, so he dropped it. But a community or neighborhood watch does not mean to strap your guns on and go out there
No, ma'am.
That-
It purely means watch. Watch with your eyes.
Yeah.
That's what it
Yeah.
means.
But in
Yeah, it
order,
doesn't mean to do
Correct.
that. You know,
but in order for a neighborhood watch to work, we have to be backed up by law enforcement.
That's true.
When you see something happening, like somebody
know that
stealing a
someone's gonna
car,
come.
you have to be able to know that when you make that phone call, they're gonna come.
well,
And we're not getting that.
No.
So,
the sheriff was
just
one of our, we had all the sheriff's departments.
one of the basic
Tom Dury was
premises
the
of
sheriff
a-
and Tom was great.
a basic premise of a safe community is when you see something, say something, right? But that's only beneficial if there's a response to what you said.
Exactly
If
right.
law enforcement doesn't respond to the concerns from people, what happens is people finally go, I ain't calling, it isn't worth it.
Exactly.
And that's very, very damaging. And it kind of, have you ever heard of the broken window syndrome? It's a theory in policing that's actually very true. It's very simple, but here's how it goes. If there's an abandoned building, okay, just an abandoned building nobody lives in anymore, and it'll sit like that for a while, and finally some kid one day is going to get a wild hair and they're going to throw a rock at the building and they're going to break the window. And then everybody walking by is going to see that broken window and think, oh, that's just the norm around here, and that's the expectation. So now every window gets broken out of it. So if you have the abandoned building, you have to take care of it. Even though it's abandoned, you got to take care of it. And if you have a broken window, you have to fix that one broken window. So the theory is all the small things matter. If you pay attention to the small things, you never have a big problem. And when you just simply get to the point where you feel like you don't have policing, then people don't call. Then you have abandoned buildings with broken windows, and you have broken down cars that are smashed up and turned over. It just becomes, this blight-ridden neighborhood. So,
That's where we're at right now.
right.
We're right there.
So the point with Neighborhood Watch, and I came full circle, Neighborhood Watch is really, really good, but Neighborhood Watch has to feel that there's a response when they call a problem in. And if you don't have it, then Neighborhood Watch will never be effective. It'll just be a bunch of pissed off people. That's what'll happen.
That take it into their own hands.
No, I know how that works. Worked it for a long time. We did have the sheriff's office was big, and Tom Dury was the sheriff at the time, and we had a great thing going. But that doesn't mean arm yourself. We never had nobody arming themselves. We might make them go to the skating rink and go to a skating party or something, but we never had them do. We had people patrol you out to a certain extent, and you don't carry no weapons, and you don't, you don't do that. So I know how those things work, but I don't know if anymore. You think that was a long time ago? You think they could still neighborhood watches would still work? I don't like the ones that.
Not now, Betty, because that's what he's saying, is we don't
No,
have
no.
the.
Yeah, I'm
There's no
scared.
response.
Yeah,
I think if
well,
we
not
had-
only that, I'm scared of the people that might be in the
I think if we got ourselves to the point that Commissioner DeGroot and I want to be, where you had a couple of deputies here all the time, then yes, it would be successful.
It would be effective.
The other piece of input, so I'm sitting here trying to brainstorm. What else do we need? So we need a input on the geographical area that you would be able to be the seat of,
That makes sense.
right? What do you think that boundary looks like? And the only thing that would leave you with, that boundary's bigger than you think. Because we have to cover all 6,000 square miles. So start thinking about, and quite frankly, the bigger the boundaries, the more money you get. So think about what that looks like for you as the town of Bonanza. We can help police this much area.
But that's outside of our town limits as
That's
our
okay.
jurisdiction.
But see, that's why the county nexus to that is beneficial. So if it was county employees, sheriff's deputies that just wore your patch, then they still have geographical
So
responsibility
you want
within
us
all
to
the county.
create that geographical boundary, including town limits and outside.
I would like some input on that, yeah, for sure.
And I'd sure like to see how your boundary can touch Merrill and Malin. So think about their boundaries meeting you somewhere in the middle. That would be awesome.
And going the other direction a little bit too. We got to work our way east a little bit.
And think about this too. If you fight the fight in their neighborhood, this will make sense in a minute. If you fight the fight in their neighborhood, it protects yours. And what I mean by that is, When we established the drug team, when I was the chief in Klamath, we brought the drug team back. We established that team as a regional team. I didn't just want it to be Klamath Falls City cops that were fighting the war on drugs that we really have lost in Oregon. In the city limits of Klamath, I wanted them to go outside Klamath to disrupt the distribution of drugs into town. So fight the fight in their neighborhood, not my own. So think about if you had deputies, you don't want them just staying inside the town of Bonanza. If they floated out Highway 70 and people saw them 2 miles out of town, then no one's speeding in town, right? Fight the fight outside your boundaries just a little bit. That's a really effective policing model. So think about what your boundaries might look like and how that influences speeders coming into your town. Because now they're already going slower because they just passed somebody
And
out.
drugs in your
and
town.
drugs in, right.
Crime.
And crime.
Theft. Yeah.
Right.
All of that matters, because those people don't necessarily just live right here.
Right.
Right.
They're coming into your town and breaking the law.
I think that's a good point, Commissioner.
Well, it certainly gives us something to think about.
Right.
That, you know, it's
gonna
not
be
just
fun.
me, but you got to talk to your neighbors and whatever, and are you interested, and this is what, will you come to a meeting? You know, will you listen? Would you guys come back to a meeting?
no.
Oh, heck yeah, I'd be here in a second.
Yep,
Yeah.
that'd be fun.
Yeah, we'd have to do something like that. I think we need to get you know, everybody. We can. I mean, the more eyes you got, the better. But they have to have the right attitude. If you
Yeah,
know what
I
I'm
mean-
trying to say.
I think people being passionate about a topic is good. I find that to be very effective, but I certainly don't want to hear a bunch of people swearing and cussing and, you know, that type of stuff. But being passionate about it is good.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying, but I don't want somebody saying, if the cops can't do it, I can.
Yeah, we don't need that.
No,
That's what I don't want.
nope.
So, but I think everybody in agreement here, maybe we set up a public meeting, maybe we go to the little gym or over to school or one of the,
Yeah, title it like a listening session or something like that, so people understand when they come in that our role, your role, and our role is to listen.
I think it'd
Not
be
on the
good
spot solutions. Yeah.
because they all have a perception that nothing is really being done. And so to be able to say, like, this is the opportunity for you to come and really voice what the concern is. And where you're talking about the geographical boundary, like, if you live on Bly Mountain, if you live in Derry, cool, like, come and talk about the need for, because we only see what's happening here in city limits and what we hear about is happening. Like, outside of there, people probably fly through Derry too, and they get tired of it as well. I mean, if you're talking about geographical boundaries where you can, like, touch areas that may not see something, but
Yeah, and if people have some crazy ideas, let's hear them. Let's hear some solutions too.
Love it.
well, we can do that, I guess.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's
You have a-
Change is hard, but it can be fun.
Everybody wants change until there's.
We do a pretty good job of that.
I like it.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you guys coming, but I got a couple things here
Yep,
I need to
yep.
put on here before you go here.
Yeah. Ah,
Since we are lawless, so to speak, we've got a couple problems here in town with code enforcement, and we don't have a code enforcement, and it's a health problem. There's a couple of them, a health problem as well as code enforcement. And maybe we get the county to help us out on a couple of them places. Maybe have maybe have the health department take a look, and then you guys, I don't know if you have, do you have a code enforcement?
Oh, heck yeah. Oh, yeah.
Would you maybe be willing to let them take a look for us and see?
Absolutely.
I mean, we've got a
Can
couple-
you shoot one or both of us an email about what the problems are? Because if it's the health department, I'll take it, and if it's like nuisance code, Commissioner Hensley will take
Okay.
it.
Yeah, if you can
Sherry
just
will do
maybe-
that. It's kind of a combination of both.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can get right on
Because
that.
we don't have anybody right at present time.
that's easy.
Yeah, that's a piece of cake. That's somebody just needs to send us an email and tell us what you need.
Yeah.
That's a done deal.
Yeah.
We have
Sherry-
somebody out in a
Sherry
couple
get
of
that in the mail in the morning.
That one's easy.
No more blanket tonight, huh? He's gonna be busy.
No, we appreciate you coming, and
That one's easy.
and we can give it a shot. You know, we got nothing to lose, by trying to come up with something, and we will. I think council on board. Have them make a motion. Let's have a motion to go with it.
I'll make a motion to have a town hall listening session to allow residents come and
I think that's
voice
the
their
first
concerns
step.
about police.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Second, I'll second it.
Yep,
Aye.
let's go.
Okay.
Just say when.
Shoot me an email.
Yeah. When you're scheduling it, will you loop Sandy in to make sure we can be there? Okay.
Yeah, we'll have to maybe,
Otherwise,
yeah, be sure that we can hit it on days that's convenient for.
it doesn't have to necessarily
Well,
be
there would
convenient, but I
be-
have to actually like be in the
There wouldn't
county.
be any use of having a meeting and have everybody come and me being the target.
I'll stand in front of you. It'll be fun.
Yeah, you do a good job of that, just being here.
Okay, guys, we will. We appreciate you coming.
Yeah.
You guys want to talk about the eclipse real quick before we get out of here? I see that's one of the things on your agenda.
Yeah, it is. Sandy asked me to put it on there.
Perfect, perfect.
But
Yeah.
we're-
The eclipse.
Eclipse
Oh, and
preparation, we're
eclipse,
kind of
so-
bouncing around
yeah,
a little
yeah.
bit, we'll have to go back to old business, but.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, that's the last thing I saw on there that you guys might need us with. So do you guys, how do you want to frame this conversation? Do you want to talk about your thoughts on it? You want me to tell you what the county's doing? Tell me. I actually asked for it to be on the agenda, to be honest. I asked Sandy to put it on the agenda with you, so thank you for that.
Let's hear what you got to say.
Okay, so let's go this way. Eclipse is starting. We're expecting visitors to start rolling into town next week. We're planning for the operational period of October 10th through the 15th, which is Tuesday through Sunday. The actual eclipse is Saturday, the 14th. The eclipse is about 9:15 in the morning. It'll last for about 4 minutes. Based on conversations we've had with Crook County and Jefferson County, we're expecting upwards of 60,000 people to come into Klamath
come
County.
here?
Mm-hmm.
To Clement County.
Yep.
Wow.
The forecast for next week is looking cloudy. So when people realize that, it might change the number just a little bit. But we've got an event out at the Running Y called Eclipse into Nature. And NASA is actually going to put their cameras at the Running Y and film the eclipse for their website at Running Y. So they're expecting roughly 3,000 people. I've heard less now, but let's just go with that. And then there is Eclipse Fest out in Fort Klamath, and they're going to have a multi-day event with camping and those types of things. Smash Mouth is performing on Saturday. Friday night, there's going to be a meteor shower viewing. They're expecting upwards of 3,000 people there as well. So
It's a big thing.
yeah, there's quite a bit going on. So we've put out quite a few media releases to the community. We've put out information to retailers, just some things for them to be thinking about. But here's really the messaging that I'd like you to talk about with your constituents and people that live in Bonanza. Be prepared, be patient, and have fun. Be prepared, meaning expect that we're going to have shortages of fuel. Expect that we're going to have shortages of groceries. So we're telling everybody to get your groceries, your prescriptions, go see the doctor. Try to get all that done this week before next week when traffic is out of control. When we were talking with Crook County, they were telling us about an event up in the Ochicos. And it was standstill traffic from the Ochicos all the way down to Prineville. 30 miles. Traffic didn't move for 30 miles. So think about Highway 140 east and west, think about Highway 97, think about Highway 70, and the path is going to come across Lake County and across Klamath County, so you're going to have a bunch of people coming through your area. So think about traffic being out of control. So get all your fuel and try to get all that done this week, so next week you can kind of breathe a little bit. Think about your cell phone maybe not working because of all of the people trying to use the cell phone towers. So the cell phone tower and the internet may be really slow and sluggish. So what might that do if you're trying to run a debit card or a Visa card? So have some cash on hand in case your debit card doesn't work and you need to buy something. I'm telling everybody, if you've got, extra water tanks out at the farm, if you've got an RV, fuel it up and have it ready to go with water and propane and extra food, just so you've got what you need. We might have some power outages, so think about it. Make sure your generator's fueled up and all of those types of things.
Are
So
these 60,000 people staying in Klamath County for a few days or just?
potentially,
The
yeah.
Motel 6 is $350.
And last I heard they were up around 800.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
A
because we
night?
have
Yeah.
a bridal shower for someone the next weekend, and they were gonna book a hotel room in Klamath and stay, and they're not.
So-
Yeah, the running was $800.
Yeah, it's $800 a night. So be prepared, be patient.
800 a month for what?
A night.
$800 a night for a hotel room at the Running Way.
Yeah.
This was
They're
that
having
weekend.
a 5-day party at Fort Klamath.
Right.
Just
Yeah.
sitting text
Eclipse
up in the
Fest.
backfield there, like, we'll just let people rest.
So, and then here's the last thing.
My yard is 150.
Be prepared, be patient, and really have fun, because this Ring of Fire is likely going to be the only time many of us ever see it. It's going to be a once in a lifetime deal. So get your glasses, take pictures with your friends and family, really enjoy the moment, and don't get caught up in there's too many people, I couldn't get milk yesterday. Let's be prepared,
It's called planning.
be patient.
Are you guys selling glasses in
Yeah.
town somewhere?
Yes.
We don't have any, but somebody just told me they had 10,000.
Who
Who said
this?
that?
Spins and Eye Care
I think
is
Discover
selling
Klamath has a bunch too. I think Discover Klamath had some. Somebody else just got a
I think we're
shipment.
giving some away on campus. I think somebody is a student life or somebody.
$5 a pair at the Eye Place.
Pugs.
And the last thing I'll add is, if you're really, really frustrated next week, don't call me. Because there's nothing I can do about it.
No, you're gonna be driving a potato truck.
Yeah, I might be harvesting
Sound like
next
what you
week.
just
Just
said. That's a lot,
so,
especially the traffic for people that have
So we'll just put
to
a
travel.
We'll
I mean,
we'll put a post on our
work.
Facebook about it.
Yeah.
About all
Something
the,
about these guys too.
if you
watch
want to
out
go,
for.
if you want to go to our website and grab the media releases and just copy and paste them, there you go. That'll save you a ton of effort. I think we've published 2 or 3 already.
we like that.
I'm telling my family just stay home, get everything you need, and just stay in the
I'm
house for
leaving
3
town,
days.
so
Yeah, like I said, I might be too.
Bert has a baseball tournament.
Lots of people.
Oh, I thought.
Walk this town off.
Okay, guys.
All right,
God bless y'all.
I'll adjourn the county commissioner meeting.
Thank you.
What time is it? 7:23.
7:43.